Welcome to I Change the Narrative, a podcast for and about Black men inspiring, supporting, and empowering Black men and Black boys. This episode of I Change the Narrative is sponsored by So Organic, So Suave, also known as Sauce. Sauce is a luxury hair care and skincare refuge for those with thick hair and melanin rich skin. From healthy beard growth to top of head hairstyling to an illuminating skincare regimen, Sauce Essentials will naturally enhance your outer appearance to strengthen your inner confidence. Sauce invites you to accept the authenticity in real self care and embrace your best. You can find Sauce's award winning grooming essentials online at sossd.co. Again, that's sossd.co. You can also follow Sauce on Instagram for the latest in product news and updates at sossd.co. Elevate your grooming with Sauce today. For the last week in November, the last Saturday in November, we're doing it a little bit different, as it is a Sauce takeover. And what that means is that we have come together and co-produced the show. And not only that, Sauce has chosen 4 pillars that are near and dear to their community and brand. So I say thank you to Sauce. So today's conversation is a conversation on sowing seeds for the community to reap. Before we start the conversation, I want to ask our guests to tell us about yourselves and the work you're involved in that lends itself to the topic or the lived experience. We're going to start it off with Jared. Welcome, Jared.
And thank you for having me. It's an honor and a blessing to be here and just have a great conversation with you all. Again, I'm Jared Thurgood. I'm based out of Los Angeles. I'm a part of the Long Beach Inglewood South Bay Alumni Chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi, Kappa League program where I've served for the last 4.5 years, where we mentor boys, African American mostly, young men from 6th grade to 12th grade, and so on. So it's an honor and a blessing to be here again.
Thank you. Vernon.
Top of the top, everyone. My name is Vernon G. I'm founder, chief visionary officer for So Organic, So Suave, going by the acronym Sauce. What lends me to this conversation, even outside of my attachment to Sauce, is my commitment to the community. And I was really passionate and excited. I'm really passionate and excited for this conversation specifically because I think this is something that needs to be amplified and emphasized throughout, our culture, throughout specifically Black men. And I'm just thankful and grateful to be able to share this space on a platform such as this with these men that are on there with me, because they're all doing amazing things when it comes to service. So this part, one of the initiative we're doing throughout the month of November is No Shady November, where Sauce has a partnership with Positive Deposits Incorporated, whereas the proceeds from every purchase transacted throughout this month is going to be donated to Positive Deposits, where we're going to help, support individuals who are, recently won their battles with cancer, and also helping support individuals who are soon to be champions. And it's an honor to be able to really share this space right now with the visionary, the ideator, the creator of Positive Deposits, specifically my guy Presley Nelson. So just want to thank you all for being here. Thank you for this platform again, Nika, and I'll pass it to Presley to introduce himself.
Yes.
All right. Top of the top. My name is Preston Nelson Jr., proud member of Kappa Alpha Psi. I'm a part of the Washington alumni of Kappa Alpha Psi in Washington, D.C., but I'm the proud president and founder of Positive Deposits. Our organization supports cancer survivors by encouraging those positive messages through our community outreach and impact, fundraising, and courageous conversations. So just like this platform, we have a podcast as well, where we allow survivors, caregivers, and doctors to share their journey, because it's very important. We start to transform minds and change lives about cancer. And I'm very excited. This is our second year with Sauce, as far as the No Shade November. And it's the awareness is important. And I am a 2-time cancer survivor. So this is near and dear to me. And so that's why I've created this vision, but also too just to give back to our Black and brown community, because it's such important. And we have to change that frown upside down when it comes to that 6-letter word. So
Thank
thanks
you.
for having me.
No problem. Mr. Noel.
Blessings, everyone. Noel Grigsby Jr. I'm on the other side of 1911, so Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, where I crossed at San Jose State University, Bloody Psi Gamma chapter. I'm a member of It's Bigger Than Us, where I am a community organizer, where it's a grassroots organization rooted and grounded in the Crenshaw community, where we started off with just former athletes, just creating a space for men to come and talk about the injustices that were taking place in 2020. We transformed that into action. So trying to find ways to provide opportunity and services to those within the Crenshaw community and the greater Los Angeles community through food giveaways, through backpack drives for kids at the school, as well as different opportunities and services to benefit those within our community who aren't afforded those opportunities initially. So honored and blessed to be here, to be amongst men as well as my sister, to have a good time and talk about what it means to serve our community.
Awesome. Thank you. Dr. Anderson.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Good morning to everyone. Well, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. First and foremost, Presley, thank God for your healing, bro. This great. That's awesome. And I'll be praying for you from this day forward. So I'm glad to hear that you're a 2-time survivor. I'm Dr. Anderson. I'm from Shreveport, Louisiana. I'm currently an educator. I'm a director for the school district UME Preparatory Academy that's in Dallas. We serve 5 different campuses. I'm also a mentor with the Crowley Foundation. I've been serving with that nonprofit for the past 6 years. I'm all about education. I feel like, it's the way to change, it's the way to growth, it's the way to progress. So I'm here. I thank you guys for this opportunity. Vern, I thank you. I appreciate you for sharing this platform with me. Let's do work. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much. So today's conversation places an emphasis on Black men as assets and not deficits. And when we look at it from that lens, it changes how we all see the Black community. So often individuals and groups are able to tell us a lot about what's wrong with Black men. But these gentlemen here are here to illustrate the positive sides of the Black man's narrative. With that being said, today and every day here, the Black man is the subject and never the object. My first question for you all is, I want each of you to provide a little bit of framework as far as let me see. I'm sorry. I want each of you to provide a little bit of framework as to why you all do what you do for your particular community. I know Mr. Nelson has already said a little bit, but I just want to hear the stories, because oftentimes we don't hear about the stories, the background as to why you got into a certain work. So tell us a little bit about that, and anyone can take it.
I'll kick us off. Positive deposit. So one thing is that, I got diagnosed at very weird times. And my first time that I was diagnosed was I was 29, about to turn 30. And, definitely just being a Howard alum, being in the promoter life, and really just living a good life, and I started to, experience some abnormal things with like just my weight and things of that nature. Not to go too far into the journey, but I found out that I had a very rare, large B-cell lymphoma diagnosis. And so that type of diagnosis is normally doesn't come to folks until they're like in their 50s and 60s. And so that was a game changer. I had to definitely adjust living life by getting chemotherapy, and very aggressive chemotherapy. But, that was a journey. I had my frat, they all joined the cause. But one thing that was important to me was to be able to share that, allow people to, tap in and just get to know a little bit about it. Because a lot of times people, tiptoe around cancer because it's the first thing you think is that somebody's going to die.
Mm-hmm.
it's your tombstone is waiting for you and things of that nature. And but I made it. Some people said I made it look easy, but it was that mindset change, that shift that had to happen as soon as I got the diagnosis. Because when the doctor came in, and they shared that with me about the mass, I was just kind of like, well, dang, like watching those doctor shows, you're like, you hear mass, cancer, things of that nature. But one thing that I've known is being very religious and very spiritual and gentleman, a man of God. He's brought me through so many different obstacles through Howard University, just through, divorced households and things of that nature. So if he can get me through that, then this is just another wave, another storm that he can get me through. But I had to commit to that and put all of that survival in faith. And so when I did that, it was powerful, because people would see me and I had to shave off my hair, and I'm like, oh, I'm just trying to be like MJ, I'm just, I'm cooling, and it inspired more people, until the last time I had to get chemo. The first time, people were upset with me because they were like, why didn't you tell me? You see what I'm saying? Like, like, this is crazy. But I was like, I wanted to be positive and really be a strong testament of that anyone can get through it. It's just as a 30-year-old man, and then fast forward five years later, it came in a different form. So just for educational piece, lymphoma comes in non-Hodgkin's and Hodgkin's, right? And so it just deals with the different cells, the blood cells, right? And so 5 years is kind of like your marker, like I'm free, you know what I mean? Like, and then I was at my line brother's wedding, and I thought I was doing good. I'm eating healthy, things of that nature. And I was losing so much weight real fast. And come to find out, there was a ultrasound that needed to happen. And I found out that I had cancerous lymph nodes on my liver, spleen, and both sides of my chest. So that's called stage 4, where there's 4 spots. And so that took me to another level. And that was, so remind you, I finished in 2013, 2018 comes back again. And I went back into survival mode, and I beat it again. But the moral of the story is that through that, I thought it was important that, just as strong-minded and changing that narrative, I had to do it for the community. What I've learned in this journey, and we just hit our 2-year anniversary, like almost 10 days ago, is that a lot of people are scared of the word cancer. A lot of people don't understand that it can be defeated. A lot of people get into the mindset that is so negative that your body's not willing to heal. And that's the reason why I started Positive Deposits, because, it's transforming minds to change lives. So when you hear these stories of all these survivors, Black and brown, Canadian, white, cancer has no race. It's powerful. It's very powerful to hear that. I know sometimes you're like, wow, I want to hear this. No, because at the end, we have those positive deposits that we pour in to the community to encourage those positive messages. We another thing that we decided to do, instead of American Cancer Society, we supported the Aura Lee Smith Foundation. You probably heard about it. It's a cancer research foundation that founded laser nanotechnologies to cure cancer. And so as they're building their funds to start clinical trials, it's important that we support our own. And it's near and dear. Some of the things that we do, we supported the Howard University Cancer Center. During the pandemic, where they need masks and meals and things of that nature, we donated those things. We also teamed up with some breast cancer aware foundations and organizations. They build 30-day care packages for breast cancer patients, and survivors. So we have families. I just recently had a brother from Delta Sigma Pi, the business fraternity. Her episode is actually the season opener, but she had brain cancer, and we supported her family with her memorial. So that's what we're here for: the equity, to share the journey, but also to the impact to the community for patients, survivors, caregivers, and families affected. And I know it's not a popular topic, but it's necessary and needed. If you look at it, there's not too many Black organizations that support cancer. We think of like LLS and all these other organizations, but there are some organizations that do support cancer in different walks, and we support all different walks of cancer. And And so this is why this is something very passionate, and Positive Deposits will be here to support anyone that is going through it. We just did a walk and run ride, so these are the things that we're going to do to create that lane for us, and but also give back to the Black and brown community who don't have the equity, which is the knowledge about what to do and how to go about it, and that's that mental health piece of it. So that's just like a kind of overview, kind of cliff notes, but it's near dear to my heart, and I'm forever going to be proud that I'm a survivor, because we're superheroes as well.
Yeah.
And so you should never ever, regardless of the diagnosis, think that the world is over. It's actually just began. So that's why we're here, Positive Deposits.
Thank you so much. Does anyone want to follow that?
So
I'll go one. I'll just tell everybody up front. I've known Presley since 2013, and when I first heard in 2013 that he was a one-time survivor, I was so surprised. Like, you never could see it on his face, let alone come to 2018. I'll never forget the day you told me we were out somewhere, and then I think I offered you a drink or something. You were like, "No, I'm good." And I'll be honest, I kind of met you with some peer pressure. I was like, "Come on, bro, we celebrated. Like, let's go up, Smash. Come on." And then he told me, and I was just like, you would have never known. You would have never known, because he was just always so positive. Like, not even trying to, be cliche. He was just so positive at all times. And he was just like, I'm like, yo, like, do you need anything? Like, are you good? He's like, bro, like, I'm blessed. Like, just continue to have fun and pray for me. And I was just like, yo, like, that always stoked me. And every time I hear this story, every year we do this, it hits me every time, just to hear like my guy, like, yo, 2 times. He didn't even 2 times. Like, man, I love your story, Press. I love what you're doing. I love the commitment and the impact you're making in the community. I definitely do. And I think these are the type of people I surround myself with,
Yeah.
because this is what helps me continue to push forward in my lanes and continue to help me look for different opportunities to help go into the community and make change, make an impact wherever I can. For me specifically, I got started. I honestly think I'll go back to like my real start when it came to, sowing seeds into the community, was alongside my cousin Jared. We grew up in Capital League together, like little tykes running around Capital League. And for me, it was a matter of like, we're in high school. We both have both of our parents. I'll speak on me right now. I have both of my parents, very, well to do. But I was noticing how the brothers in the chapter, my dad's chapter, they were going to like, some of the high schools that, were like red zone, like caution tape, like nobody there is really going to amount to much, like leave them alone. But they was going to Morningside. They was going to Inglewood to pull kids, to pull the young men out of there. Like, nah, like, I need you here with us on Sundays in a tie, in a dress shirt. I'll come pick you up. I'm going to feed you. I'm going to give you scholarships. And it was just that seeing these men, like, they didn't have to, but they went out of their way consistently to help build someone up and to help give somebody else an opportunity and exposure. That's something that I think I could look back at from like a little guy to now, has always registered and has always set with me. So now it's like I don't have a specific lane of impact. I just always looking for like, yo, how can I help someone get exposure, get opportunities that I know I've been afforded, but they may not have. I
Yeah.
think that's what has, when I look at, from the community fridge that we started up in Inglewood in the middle of the pandemic, when I think about the mentoring program I started when I first joined Cap Alpha Psi on Howard's campus, the mentoring program that we did in partnership with the Southeast White House in DC. When I look at, doing this partnership with Presley, when I look with Positive Deposits, when I look at asking iChangeTheNarrative to let us use this platform, I'm just always looking for ways like, how can I provide exposure, provide emphasis on, on the masses to create more opportunity. So that's what's continued to guide my path. And yeah, that's pretty much how I got to, just being very service focused. Like, I don't even like to use the word service. I gotta find, I'm gonna have Dr. Anderson to give me another word to use. I don't like to use the word service because it's just so natural. I just feel like I'm being, like, I just want to give, I just want to help. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
I can go next. Again, very, very, very similar roots to Vernon. I feel like this is what I'm supposed to do. I don't feel like it's a required task. I don't feel like it's additional service. I feel like this is what I like. It's just part of my everyday and what I'm supposed to do. I look to honestly, like I look to my dad as inspiration. My dad has always been somebody that's been around. From time I played football growing up, he used to take everybody and bring them orange slices and carry them in their car and take them home when their fathers weren't around. So I think honestly, man, it's just something that's inherent. I know that for sure. I always remember one of my mentors, Doug Brown. He said, "My goal is not to get you to college; it's get you through college." He told me that when I was in like sixth grade, and I'm like, "What? I'm not even think. I'm thinking about high school. I'm not. That's not even the like the blip on the radar." And he always told me that, and that stuck with me. And now it's something that it's just my goal is. It's not even the college; it's a trade. It's to be a productive citizen. I think that everybody needs an example, and you might be that one person for somebody. You don't know what somebody's background is, you don't know what they have going on, but you can be that positive role model in whatever capacity, and not necessarily just take my footsteps and going to college and going to work for Fortune 500 company or whatever the case may be. No, it's just to be a productive citizen and give back. And so that's the main thing I look at. That's my roots. With Capital League, is it feels so easy. It doesn't feel like an obligation. It doesn't feel like something I have to do. It's not something I take a deep sigh and say, man, like I have to do this today. No, it's everybody in my life knows that Sundays and weeknights to plan are that's my time for Capital League, and that's what I'm supposed to do. I don't feel the extra burden. It actually gives me joy, in knowing that I can talk to impact these lives, these young kids, and help mold them into productive citizens. I think that's the key word in all of this, because it just brings me so much joy, and just to be that impact and be that that positive image in their life. So man, I draw. It's crazy because this conversation already, and we're just getting started, but I'm drawing a little bit from everybody. And Noel being in the Crenshaw district, I live in View Park, so it's right on corner. Cancer has hit my family personally during the pandemic, so it's been I'm tearing up thinking about it, just because again that positive image and that positive influence, and then again with Dr. Anderson, just education, like that's knowing is power and knowledge. So again, I'm grateful for this space just to even be in it. So
yeah.
I can go ahead and jump in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, not to speak too much, but to just kind of start at the beginning. I grew up in the projects, single mother, attended schools where it was predominantly Black. I remember in middle school we had one white girl in the entire school named Justine. Everybody else was Black. So I make it to ninth grade, and my mom wants me to go to a good school, right? She wants me to get a better education. So she sends me to the school using my grandmother's address, and this district is like predominantly white. So I've gone from being a part of the majority to now for sure being the minority. And it was just a very difficult time for me. Like, I mean, two totally different cultures, talking about learning how to code switch. I mean, it was crazy. And I'm trying to process and understand my reality, the difference, the change, what's going on. And I'm only like 13 years old. I'm trying to figure all this out.
Yeah.
So it's wild. On one particular, so I had a very difficult time. So we had an SOR officer. So I was very misunderstood. So I was like the bad kid. I wasn't bad. I was just misunderstood.
Right.
Misunderstood. I love it. I love
SOR
it.
officer on campus, like, he just gave me the hardest time, and I've always been very bold and proud to be Black, to be African American. Like this just always been me. And this SR officer, in my opinion, he had an issue with that. So on one occasion, the teacher asked me to put my cell phone up, and I was like, sure, I'll put my cell phone up if you tell the others to put that. So my white classmates had their cell phone as well. So if we all put our phones up, then I'll put my phone up. But if everybody don't put their phone up, I'm not putting mine up.
That's right.
So she responds and she says, well, I'm going to call officer. She said she's going to call the officer down. So I responded back by saying, I don't care who you call.
No.
She called him down. He comes to the classroom, And she tells him what I said. He's like, "Do you have anything to say to me?" I'm like, "Man, look, I don't have anything to say to you." So he tells me, "Go in the hallway." I get in the hallway and he pushes me. And I'm just like, "Hey, wait, bro, don't push me. Like, don't put your hands on me." So he pushed me again. I pushed him back. We actually started fighting. The assistant principal comes. They put me in a chokehold. They dragged me from the classroom outside and placed me in the police car. And so, make a long story short, I was arrested, charged with assault on the officer, just all these crazy wild things. Mind you, I'm a kid, you know. So yeah, they do all that. So I end up going to court and all of that. So I make it to the hearing. So I'm at the hearing for the school. And there's a committee, but the director that's over the hearing is a black man. So at this point, I'm just really fed up, and I don't even really want to be at the school anymore because at this point it's just way too much. And so he asked me, he said, "Young man, do you care about your education?" And I was mad, and I remember telling him, I was like, "Man, I don't care. Like I don't care. Like kick me out. I don't care what y'all do. I don't care." Because I was just mad at that point. And he looked at me and he goes, "No, you will care." He was like, "And you're going to be somebody in life." He was like, "And like there's too much." He almost low key started like prophesying to me. He was like, "There's too much over your life. Like God has a lot in store for you." He was like, "And you're going back to school." He was like, "You won't go to our alternative school." He was like, "I'm gonna give you the opportunity to go back to school," which is unheard of. Like I just fought a police officer, and you're going to allow me to come back to school? So at that very moment, I was like, okay, so all it takes is one individual to be in leadership, right? And to have authority and to have the power and to be able to make the calls and say, you can. It just takes one. And so I knew from that point on, like, no matter what I find myself doing in life, I didn't know I was going into education at that time. But I knew at that moment, no matter what I do in life, I'm going to always give back. I'm going to always pay it forward. It only takes one person to speak into your life and to make a difference. And now today, that's how I approach my students, and that's how I approach my mentees. And I love the misfits, like those students that they feel like are throwaways, that are more likely to not graduate, to not be successful. Those are my kids. Like we eat lunch together every day. They already know you get your lunch. Let's go to Mr. Anderson office. Well, they call me Mr. A. We're gonna go to Mr. A office and we're gonna have the time of our lives. We're gonna eat and we're gonna talk about whatever y'all want to talk about. And most importantly, I'm gonna let you guys know that you are somebody, whether you decide to go to the workforce, whether you decide to go to college, whether you decide to go to the NFL, whether you decide I'm going to be an entrepreneur. Even if you look at me and say, I don't know what I want to do, but I know the importance and the value of one person. It just takes one person to speak into their lives. And so I've just always adopted that mentality, and I've always been married to that. So I'm forever just trying to speak and make a difference. And I truly believe that God has allowed me and placed me in a position to be that one person.
I'm sorry. You guys have some. Noel, please.
I hop in. I appreciate you, brother, being transparent with your stories, man. It definitely touched me as well as I'm pretty sure it touched those who are viewing. The Bible says the suffering of this present time isn't worthy to be compared to the glory that shall be revealed in us. It says, what shall we say to these things? If God be for us, who can be against us? It talks about we glory in tribulation, knowing that tribulation worketh patience, patience experience, experience and hope. So, Presley, I appreciate you and all of you allowing your tribulation to transition into hope for not only yourselves, but the community and those who are coming behind us. So why service? So I like to call myself, or I like to gas myself and say I'm a service hustler. So if it's service, I want to be there. Born and raised in the Crenshaw community. My dad is a pastor, so I grew up a PK. So I grew up in the church as far as I can remember. So service is kind of, I like to tell people, it's embedded in me. It's a part of my psyche. It's just who I am. It's my purpose. I think it's all our purpose when we decide to give our life to the Lord. So I've always been an usher. I've always sang in the choir. I always counted money at the church. I've always been at all the outreaches. I've just always been around, and my parents, kind of made me early on, but it became who I am. So, I grew up. My mom went to Crenshaw. Both my older sisters went to Crenshaw. My aunties and my uncles went to Crenshaw. So, as far as I knew, I mean, coming out the womb, I was going to Crenshaw. It was an honor. Something I look forward to going to Crenshaw. And when I got there, it's a lot of different stereotypes that go on, especially within the inner city. My brothers Jared and Vernon, they from View Park, man, but we brothers, that's up the street. I used to see Vernon all the time. My cousin's house playing basketball, so there's no difference. Sometimes there's a difference in the zip code, but we all come from the same struggle, especially when we look the way we look. So, from Crenshaw, I mean, there was always somebody there giving, right? There's always someone there giving. I played football there, I played basketball there, ran track there. There was always somebody dedicating their time to us, right? So, I always thought, once I get the opportunity, I wanted to pay it forward. So, going into college, I received a full ride scholarship to go to San Jose State University to play football. Um, before I got there, Omega Psi Phi gave me a scholarship. My team dad was an Omega man. He used to take us to the youth leadership conferences in Compton, where the conference used. So Omega kind of was always around my life. So when I got to college, it was no other way to go but pledge Omega Psi Phi. And once I got done playing ball, from San Jose, I signed with the Raiders on a free agent contract. But I didn't feel like that was my purpose. The NFL is a different type of ball game. For some people, it's what they live for. And I thought that's what I wanted. But really and truly, I was just trying to get for free, so my parents didn't have to pay. That two older sisters, one that went to UC Santa Barbara, one that went to Bethune-Cookman. My parents couldn't afford for me to pay for me to go to college. So, my mom told me, you got to find a way to get there. And again, I had to find a way to get there, and I got there. So my goal was just to get through there. NFL just happened to be something that God blessed me with. And I said this the other day on my Instagram. Sometimes God allows us to experience the things that we want, and then He tells us it's time to do what I've called you to do, right? And I'm a firm believer, and I know that He's called me to serve, right? So currently, right now, I'm a community engagement intern with the Los Angeles Rams. So I do what I've always been doing. I go and I pass out food. I go to the high schools. Do different things. Within the community to serve. Right at the same time, shout out to Dr. Anderson. I've been a substitute teacher on the side while I've been in school for the past 5 years. Right, so I go up to the school whenever I can. It's just an opportunity to be up there and and just to show the kids that I've been here. I've been in your shoes before, right? And if I could do it, you could do it as well. So just the opportunity to serve and to give back, it's just who I am, right? And I enjoy thriving and flourishing in the purpose that God has given me and the purpose that God has given all of us, right? As Christians, we're supposed to go out and commission, right? In order to go out and commission, we have to serve our community, and we have to be at the forefront, and we have to be present. So I love the fact that we have, Black men, at the forefront and being present in different lanes, but all for the same betterment of the community and for each other.
You guys are just a blessing to those that are listening and those that will listen. So thank you again. Vernon, did you want to say something?
These are all my guys, right? And I know them all personally. But hearing them speak on what they're doing within their communities, I'm fighting back my emotion on this, my emotions right now, because it's very powerful just to hear this. You don't see too many, like, when we come together as Black men, it's not often that we talking about how can we help our communities progress and do better. Like, that may be like a line item, but when is that ever the main topic of discussion? Hey, let's politic on how are you helping your community? Well, this is what we're doing. Okay, I want to, like, this is powerful for me already. And I really just I like what Dr. Anderson said. And it echoes throughout, everyone, all six of us, including you, Nika. And he said, and it hit me, it only takes one. I remember the one quote that I heard that I never forget. I forgot where I heard it, but they said, if not you, then who? If not now, then when? And that always sticks with me. And it's just like when Dr. Anderson said it only takes one, that quote immediately came to the forefront. I feel like each of us, all six of us, have embodied that and understood that, hey, we saw a need. We saw an opportunity to help someone else, grow and be great. And instead of waiting back and focusing on going through the battle of cancer ourselves, Presley said, I'm gonna deal with this, but I know there's some other people going through this too. So while I'm getting right, I want to make sure I'm at the same time I'm helping other people get right. Like I'm still trying to conceptualize that. Like this man was fighting cancer, and
Yes.
instead of just focusing on his lane, he said, "No, no, no. Like I know I'm gonna make it. I need to make sure other people know they're gonna make it too." Like that's that power within us that I'm just very, very happy to hear and just see and just take it in right now. So I love it. I love it.
Absolutely. What responsibility do you believe Black men have to the community?
I think be unapologetic. I think what I think our responsibility is within the community is definitely to be unapologetically ourselves. Um, because a lot of times, I think, and I'm gonna stop right there because I know other people are gonna come with some great perspectives. I'm not gonna try to encapsulate everything into what I gotta say. But I just want to say be unapologetically yourself because I think that's one of the biggest forms of service. I think what my cousin JT said, how his capital E comes natural to him. It's not something he has to try to do. I know Noel. When I think he said Crenshaw 50 times in his response. Like that's natural to him. It's not it's not an effort. So I think when we really become unapologetically ourselves, our true passion and commitment are going to naturally boil up to the top, and then that's what you're going to see come out, and you're not even going to conceptualize like, oh, I'm serving. No, you're just living, and you're living from so much abundance, and you're living in so much grace, and you're living with God's mercy that you're able to recognize that it's just going to start to pour out in many different ways. So I think once we become unapologetically ourselves and confident in ourselves, I think that's what we owe the most to our community.
Mm,
I also believe that it's this quote, and again, I speak to my dad a lot because that's the person that really motivates me. He always tells me, if it's to be, it's up to me. And that just sticks with me. Like, I think that, the change that we want to see in our communities, we have to be. I can't wait for somebody else to come save me. I can't wait for the next person to say, well, we're waiting for this to happen, or we wait. No, I need to be that change, and I need to help be that change. So if I see something wrong, if I see trash on the ground, I need to go pick it up because I shouldn't wait for the next person to go pick it up. And so I think that's just something that's so simple, but a synonym for everything else. Vern noticed that it was a community fridge that this people needed this certain thing, and okay, well, what am I going to do to do that? Like uh, to help champion that cause. Like, what am I going to do to help people get the right nutrition or just the accessibility to certain things? And I'm pretty sure all you all have did the same exact thing, but we can't wait. We have these ideas and we have these great conversations, and sometimes they amount to something, sometimes they don't. But these great conversations fall upon deaf ears because we waited for something else to happen. And I just think that we owe our community to just push forward, to do it, whatever it is. If we fail, we fail. It is what it is. We all fail in some capacity, but at least we tried. And we didn't say, you know what, like we did it, or like it wasn't for me. I'm okay with that. But no, for the most part, like if it's to be, it's up to me, and that we need to be the change that we see. So I think that's what we kind of owe our community as Black male, just to be the example, be the standard, and just to do.
This is very powerful. I appreciate being here. This is very powerful. So to echo what you guys have said, so I think most of all we have to be bold, right? We have to be bold, and we have to take it by force, right? Gone are the days where we sit around to speak and ask and hope that someone will help or do something for us. I think Black men we have to be bold enough to go into these places and these spaces and make it happen. Like the Joshua generation. I mean, they were totally different from Moses, and no shade against Moses and those that came before him, but they took it by force. They realized, like, no. The promised land is ours. It was our forefathers, but they didn't take it. So this is ours. We're going to go and we're going to get it. We're going to possess the land for sure. And that's what they did. And it wasn't really a conversation that was had. They didn't go back, and the difference is they didn't really go back and forth with Joshua like the people did with Moses. The people spent a lot of time talking to Moses, but with Joshua and the people, it was more so implementation. You know, so I just feel like we have to be bold, understanding that as it pertains to our position as men, it's very controversial, right? And so it's not a roadmap or a path or a trajectory that's just going to be laid out before us. We literally have to make it happen, and we have to take it by force. We have to be bold, so we have to be unapologetic, just like my brother said.
Yes, absolutely.
I would chime in and echo everyone's sentiments. I think another thing is that if we step up, we have to be consistent. Consistency is very key, and the reason why, if we know what we're supposed to do, right, and as men, we have to have that. There's a responsibility that comes with that. Either you're gonna step up or you just don't do it. You know, we can't half step, because then there's room for error. And so, as a black man, one, we have to make sure that we are making ourselves whole with mental health. That's real, and that's a whole nother spectrum of it. But also too, when we as I've heard all the stories of the initiatives, it took that one decision to say, I'm going to step up and I'm going to be consistent. Being unapologetic is definitely is key. But one thing that I've learned is that when you're consistent, it takes the effort. You have to wake up and be consistent. You have to wake up and make that decision to say, this is the vision that's been put in my mind. Now, what am I going to do every day, whether it's a minute, 30 minutes, and if we don't do that, then we fall back. Time is never on our side. So make the most of every minute, second, hour, 24 hours, and every day. And you have to just do it. I was out overseas, and we were at a table full of men. We were all at a table full of men, and we were talking about, what is the idea that you want to do? Are you living in your vision? And if you aren't, how come you can't just do it? We see everybody else just quit their jobs and do it. We put ourselves on the back burners when we should be putting ourselves at a seat at the table. So we have to make sure we step up to that seat at the table and be okay with the responsibilities to be consistent.
Yeah.
No, that's dope. That's dope. Be unapologetic, be authentic, be bold, be consistent, be responsible. Kind of like Jared said. And Dr. Anderson over there preaching. I appreciate the Joshua and the Moses analogy.
Yeah.
Just to kind of piggyback off of that, there was a lot of bickering going on with Moses. Right, they went through the wilderness. God had to kill off the older generation because they was acting up. They was trying to go back to Pharaoh. And I think as a community, as black men, we've been in the wilderness too long, right? We went through a time period where they tried to devalue us. When they shut down the factories in our communities, the crack epidemic where they tried to take us out of the household, devalue us and get rid of us for the most part. Like Dr. Anderson said, we got to be like the Joshua generation. We got to be bold. We got to be responsible. We got to step up to the plate, right? And and we got to swing, right? We can't sit back any longer. And again, Megan High Five, our cardinal principles are manhood, scholarship, perseverance, and uplift, right? It talks about the worthy standard of a man. That the worthy standard of a man isn't what you have, but what you give, right? So I think we need to consistently give, ourselves, to our communities. In the same right, I think that it's really important, to remember that, God put us on this earth to have dominion, right? We have to take responsibility for, our children, for our communities, for our households, right? We can't defer anymore. We can't defer the responsibilities. We can't tuck our tails. We can't hide behind anybody. We got to step up. We have to, lead from the front, and also understand and, be transparent and honest with ourselves that we can't do it by ourselves. Oftentimes we try to get up there and do it by ourselves, but God gave us queens for a reason, right? To be companions, to stand, by side of us, and to carry us as we go, right? To lead as well, right? So we have to be willing to, step out, step in front of our women, step in front of our children, so that we're not going to do this no more. We're going to take back ownership of our communities. We're going to take back ownership of our households, and we're going to take back ownership of our world. I think it just takes, that understanding of knowing that, we carry a lot as black men, right? But I wouldn't have it any other way, right? That's what we're here for, right? In football we say, big time players make big time plays in big time games. Every day is a big time game when you're a black man. Definitely.
I think one thing I want to add to that, and I thought about it when Dr. Anderson said be bold, and then everyone went to be authentic, unapologetic, responsible. A word that I don't hear too often because it in this very I guess toxic masculine not I guess toxic masculinity is now becoming a very big topic. So I feel like this word is kind of starting to separate itself from our characteristic. But I do believe when it comes to community, Black men, we have to be strong, and we have to be strong. And be strong is not be strong in the sense of don't be emotional. That's not what be strong means. Be strong to me is putting the onus on us to make the hard decisions, to make the sacrifices, to make it count. Like we have to be strong because I also just think about our position as males. I believe we are the leaders of the community. I
Yes.
believe we are the leaders of our family. We should be at the top, guiding our families to, like, as Noah was saying, to take full responsibility of our families and our trajectory and our communities. We have to be strong in that position, and that be strong to me is just a culmination of the unapologetic, the bold, the consistency, the responsibility, the transparency, the authenticity. Like that all is like we have to, at the end of the day, I believe we need to be strong. And I think it's a process of finding out how to do that and how to be that in the most healthy way, to make sure that we're not contaminating the community or our families, but we're actually helping benefit. So that's a word that I feel like is where we run from, but I honestly believe like we have to be strong.
Yeah.
Could I piggyback off of that real quick?
Yeah.
Just real quick. My boy has a company. It's called Swag on Him. The slogan is "Be You, Do You." I think we have to, kind of like Vernon said, with being unapologetic and being authentic. We have to be our original selves. I think Presley talked about finding your purpose and operating in it. I think oftentimes, kind of like Vernon said, with the toxic masculinity, sometimes we get caught up in trying to be somebody that we aren't. And I think as men, we have to accept ourselves for who we are, and we have to accept our brothers for who they are as well, right? I might not be the tough guy, and that's okay. And I shouldn't, force that on someone else. But I think we need to, again, be authentic, be ourselves. And I think when we do that, we can operate in different lanes, and we can lead together, and we can change things from different avenues.
Yeah.
Can I add one thing?
Please.
So, so to Noah's point, I think we should we should be intentional, because when he said we should be ourselves, the first thing that came to mind was a situation with my student. So one of my students, he's a star football player, and so he has like 4 or 5 different scholarships on the table already, and he's like he's just having a hard time figuring out what he wants to do, right? Post grad. And so I'm just like, man, like, hey, this is pretty much like this is every young man's dream. Like you have it made. And he's like, no. And so I'm like, what's the issue here? He's like, well, I don't really want to play football. I'm like,
Wow.
You're good and you've been playing ball your entire life. Like, what do you mean you want to play? This is what you do. And he's like, well, no, I mean, my family wants me to play football. So when you ask someone to be them to be themselves, we have to first make sure they know who they are. Because I mean, he's at a place in space where he's like, Mr. Anderson, I don't really know. This is not it. This is my family's dream. I've always been told that I would be a football player. This isn't even what I want to do. Wow. So as you were speaking, I thought to myself, I'm like, if I asked him to be himself, he probably would respond and say, I don't know who I am. So I think we need to be very intentional about dialogue that we have, starting with asking like, hey, who are you? A lot of people just don't know, because we're told that we're so many things. Like we know that as Black men, like we're told that we're so many things. And so by the time you make it to 18, 19, I mean, chances are you probably who you are at the time is probably who someone called you in the past. And you was like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and take upon this hat. Okay, you say I'm an athlete. Okay, let me just put on this hat. I'm an athlete. And you're really not. But this is what you was told.
And I think that question is indirectly asked when people get a glimpse of others living unapologetically in their truth. And specifically when I think of us, like I'm just thinking of us six on the line.
Mhm.
I'd be interested to find a way to figure out, like, just from us diving deep into committing ourselves to Capitally, being consistent with positive deposits, doing whatever we can, being at every service opportunity for the Crenshaw community, going into those building that time with those young boys, those young girls within your school, being consistent with this type of platform. How many people, because I've gotten this response from when we were doing the community fridge and everything else I've ever done, a lot of people from the outside looking in will say, hey, me watching you give back so happily, freely, unapologetically, consistently caused me to ask myself, what am I supposed to be doing? Why am I here? What is my passion? So to your point about, sometimes we need to ask people verbally, like, hey, who are you, to help people start framing that mindset. But other times people will ask themselves just by witnessing what we're all doing. And as long as we continue to be unapologetic, be consistent, continue to move forward, it's interesting how many other people are indirectly being impacted and are also able to find themselves without us even having that one-to-one engagement with them. So that's just I like that question, Dr. Anderson. I think, I like to think about the magnitude of the impact that each of us are having when helping others find out who they are and what their responsibility is.
Dr. Anderson, a listener said, how can you be yourself if you don't know who you are? Can all of you chime in and provide our listener with a possible answer?
So, one of the brothers today said, I wrote it down. I feel like this is what I'm supposed. I feel like this is what I'm supposed to do.
Mhm.
So I think it starts there. I think the journey to finding yourself it definitely starts with you being honest with yourself and doing what feels good, what feels right, and most of all, what feels natural. We know this we naturally serve. Like no one has to push or prime or pump you. You do, and so I think that road to discovery just comes by way of being honest with yourself.
I think I would say is that being honest with yourself, but who you surround yourself, who are your mentors and things of that nature, because it's sometimes we don't know, right? And it's that one conversation with your mentor or your role model, or I'll say this, like one of my biggest mentors is like my uncle, because I see how he moves, and so I inspire that to reach his plateau, but to have that integrity, that comes from him. And so if you don't know, definitely surround yourself with people that can help you tap into that, because sometimes it is hard to understand who you are. And especially depending on your background and your experience and things of that nature, that can get lost because your experiences shape who you are as well.
Mhm.
And so I think that's another thing is just to really tap in and have those board of directors, I would say, whether it be a brother. I mean, even some younger brothers are also my sound of voice as well too, for myself, and I'm older than them, but different experiences can pour out and like make you think and start to think about, well, okay, maybe that does relate to me, or maybe it doesn't. But sound advice comes from everywhere. Iron sharpens irons. I'm a big, firm believer of that. So you have to tap into that, the right iron though, because you don't have that right iron, it definitely will start your personality or who you are will be dull.
That's good. I just want to respond to you, Presley. I heard you mention board of directors on our show last week. One of the gentlemen on there said that you have to have your own personal board of directors, just like your company has their board of directors. You have to have your own. And he was talking about all the people that he has pulled in for his personal life to help him. He has a spiritual person in his life. He has the financial person in his life. So that was great that you are echoing and confirming what he said last week. I thought that was very powerful. So thank you.
I think that's the Z chapter relationship, because Kyle's the one that said it last week. Kyle Nichols.
Yes.
So that's that
Yes.
Z chapter relation right
Wow.
there.
Wow. That stuck with me last week. And then when you said it, I'm like, okay, there it is. So thank you.
Yeah, I
Thank you.
think the one thing that I would say though, and it's something I've noticed that all of us spoke about, either directly or indirectly, is our faith.
Mhm.
And I think that is so important because a lot of times, and again, it goes with being unapologetic.
Mhm.
I'm a proud Christian, and I know for a long time I wasn't. I'm not gonna say I wasn't proud. I just was in the backgrounds praying and going to church, and but now it's time to speak up, and I feel as if and have no shame in that. You know, I go to church, I go to Bible study, I read my Bible. Like I live the life that I want to because I know a lot of times it wasn't. I'm not gonna say it wasn't cool. I just didn't know how to be me in those spaces, in certain
Mhm.
spaces, and how to walk away from certain things and how to embrace certain things. And I think that that's something that is so important. And like when I strip myself down to the studs and say like, what is this? Who am I? What am I? It starts with my faith, and I think that that's something that um, you start embracing more of. Even if you don't believe what I believe, just what do you believe in? What motivates you? What keeps you going? What wakes you up in the morning? And what keeps you, like I said, what keeps you going? I think that that is so important in understanding how you move forward in life. Because there's days I want to give up. I know for sure that I know it's days where I call my mom, like, Mom, can you just pray for me?
Yeah.
I call Vernon, like, Vernon, let's talk about this. Let's, we one of our brothers has, we watched him over the pandemic start his church, and I'm so proud of him. But again, that's somebody I call. That's part of my board of directors that I say, you know what? He called me this morning. Called me 5 minutes before this podcast, and just checked in with me. It was just like, like, how you doing? What's going on? And I appreciate that, and I feel like because of my faith, that's something that brings us closer together. We A frat gonna bring us together, uh sports, whatever the common thing is, but our faith is what really keeps us grounded and keeps us going. And I think that that's something that we have to share, and that we can't be afraid. We have to be unapologetic in that space. So
I think the common theme that I'm hearing from all of you is there is a spiritual background. And I think it is what I'm hearing from you all is you're getting your affirmation, your strength from who does God say that I am?
Exactly.
And I think that
Exactly.
I hear that. And that's you guys are great examples to I know someone that's listening now. Everything that you're saying, you're just confirming what I speak into this person that's listening. So I appreciate it coming from you guys as men. So thank you.
100%. I was gonna say that too. Just looking at that question, just reading it to myself. How can you be yourself if you don't know who you are? Um, I found myself through Christ, like, and I'm gonna be honest, I didn't find myself until, as you know, most people had that experience 2020. 2020, after leaving the firm, quitting my job, leaving the firm, jumping off the cliff, doing entrepreneurship full time, and then boom, we get hit with a pandemic. My whole plan goes out the window. Um, those three from March to like June was very, very hard on me. And I realized really quickly that it was God saying, like, yo, you thought you was just going to continue to move on this path of this person that you not even that's not even you. He was like, nah, I need you to sit down for some time. I need you to understand who I want you to be, who I'm building you to be. Not who you want to be, but who I am building you to be.
Yeah.
That's when I started asking myself that question: who does God want me to be? Who is God invested in me? What impact is what is God using me to do to help make his mission, help bring him the glory and him all the praise. That's when my whole purpose started to get like clear as day, like those allergy commercials where you're walking through like it's black and white, and all of a sudden you pop the pill or the nasal spray, and there's colors everywhere. Like once I switched my questioning to who does God want me to be? Everything got clear. Then and then pieces just started aligning. I've known Noel since I was like probably before I even knew Jared. I know Jared since we was little, but I would have never thought that we were going to come back around in this manner to talk about how we could help progress our community together. I met Martinez, Dr. Anderson, within the pandemic. once I realized what my vision, my purpose got clear in God, he started bringing people to me like, yo, this person, this is what you're going to do with them. This is why I need you to meet this person. This person, yeah, y'all was cool and stuff back in the day, but now that you know who you are, look at what y'all about to do for cancer survivors and soon to be champions. Like it's been beautiful once you figure out who you are in God's construct, what starts to line up in front of you and the impact you're able to bring to your community. So this has been a beautiful, beautiful thing.
I just want to tap in to what you were saying, Vernon. Sometimes God puts us in a space away from everyone so we can be closer with him, because a lot of times we get caught up in the world, right? And our everyday jobs and things of that nature, and we don't make the time. And then of course, then he just, takes that time to, take you out of that space, to realize like you can't do these things without me, your passion may be your passion, but if you're not serving others, then it doesn't matter. We're on this world to pave the way for others. It's not these visions that we're doing as we are serving people is for others. It's not for us. But when we do it for us, he takes it away. So if we're not being very genuine in our acts, it will fade to black.
Right.
It will fade to black. And so I just hearing everybody's initiatives is so beautiful, because we're all being evangelism is happening in every aspect of life, and we keep that in the forefront, and we use our passions to bless others, then God is going to continue to be abundant for the masses.
And this is why I always say to Vernon, this is ministry. It doesn't have to look like the standing behind the pulpit or, running a Bible study, but this is the church without walls. You guys are the church without walls. This is ministry. So thank you.
Preston, you're gonna have to write that fade to black line down. That was full snaps, man. That was fire. That was fire. No, for real. That gotta go on a t-shirt. I like to call. Well, I'm hard headed, right? I'm a hard headed Christian. Well, I've been a hard headed Christian in the past. Let me say that. And what I've learned is sometimes, God allows us to be torn down so He can build us back up, right? So He can show us who He's called us to be and who we are, right? And the Bible says, "Be anxious for nothing, but in all things by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, that your requests be made known unto God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all men's understanding, will keep your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus," right? It also says to seek ye first the kingdom of God and all his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you, right? So oftentimes, God knows us more than we know ourselves, right? I've had this conversation not too long ago. Like, I don't necessarily know exactly what I need, but God knows what I need, right? So rather than, me trying to figure it out and me, doing all these things, I just seek him, right? Because he says to provide all the things that we need. I think in order to know yourself, you got to spend time with yourself first off, right? So that means we got to shut off our phones, we got to shut off our TVs, we got to find a space where we can just communicate with ourselves and our inner self, right? I'm big on talking to myself. I remember in first grade, they told me that I couldn't do that. My teacher called my parents and told me that I was being a disturbance because I talked to myself. But honestly, if I didn't talk to myself, I wouldn't have made it to this point. So I have inner conversations with my psyche. I had anger problems growing up, so I have conversations with my angrier self, right? So that's just who I am, right? So I think in order for us to learn ourselves, we have to spend time with ourselves, and also, we got to spend time with God, we've all said it, like it's absolutely like no chance that I would have made it in this lifetime, without God's direction and without Him, being there for me. So, and I think sometimes we get caught up in trying to figure out it ourselves too much. Like, you got to constantly relearn yourself. Like Dr. Anderson was saying, at 18, you're not the same person you were at 21 and 23 and 25 and now 30, right? And that's okay. Like, be okay with not having everything figured out, because oftentimes you don't need to know, right? You don't need to know at that point, but God will reveal Himself to you, right? And He will reveal who you are. And kind of like, Vernon and Jared was saying, you got to surround yourself. And even like you were saying about, having that, that board of directors around you, right? Jesus had the disciples. We got to find people that we can be disciples with, we can stand next to, right? Who we can go out and we can, have a good time with, but we can also talk about, mental health. We can also talk about service. We can also talk about the things that mean something both to ourselves and to our community, right? And it's important, it's essential. And if we don't do those things, we'll never learn ourselves. And we talked about, experience, right? You have to experience different things to understand what you like and what you don't like, right? You have to, take leaps like Vernon did. He went through a firm first and figured out that's not for me. I played football all through college. I got to NFL for a split second. I was like, this isn't really for me. And it'll show, and you'll feel it inside. So we all, I think internally, we know what we like and we dislike. Oftentimes it's hard for us to, be transparent and honest about those things. But you have that feeling, the Holy Spirit will reveal it to you. So I think you need to spend time with yourself to figure out who you are. You need to seek the Lord for him to show and reveal himself to you. And you also, like everybody said, you need to surround yourself with, board directors, disciples, or homies, so y'all can, feed off each other, and see and experience different things so you can realize, what you like and what you dislike.
Noel, I like what you said when you said you even had to spend time with your angrier self. We don't hear that too often. Matter of fact, I've never heard that. We're always talking about, the Zen, all that stuff that people talk, spending time with your Zen self, but spending time with your angrier self. I mean, that's healing right there, you know? So thank you for
And
that.
and I mean, again, I'm a little different. I have to sometimes I play back like things that took place. I have to release, that angry response. Otherwise,
Yes.
it'll just stay there. Again, I went through
Yes.
anger management at a very young age. I don't know why I was angry.
Mhm.
Sometimes as black men, we don't know why we're angry, and it's something you got to pray and seek the Lord for. Right? Again, I had both parents in my household. We didn't have much, but we had each other, and that was enough. But again, I couldn't tell you why I was angry. But my healing place is the car and in the shower. Right? That's where I get my silence and my solitude. Right? So I sit there and I gotta, if it's somebody at work who made me upset, sometimes I gotta play back out that situation. I gotta release it. If I don't release it, it's just gonna fester in my spirit, and I don't want it there. I got two children. I can't be taking my anger out of my children, right? And the people that you love. So I encourage everyone out there, find a way to release. It doesn't have to be through that, but find a way to release. Whether it's working out, whether it's ball, find a way to release. And that's just my way of releasing, that somebody shared with me that it's been working out for me thus far.
I definitely agree. I go on walks every day. Um, even like not even as a form of cardio, just to release my mind.
Mhm.
Um, and I walk to Kenneton. I just go and kind of reconnect and just even after a tough meeting in the middle of the workday, I just go for a walk and say, you know what, like let me go put this time on my calendar and just get my mind together because again, it's a lot. We have access to so much information. It's overwhelming at times, and if you don't disconnect, then you'll fall right into the loop, and it's just over cycle over and over again. You watch the news; it's so sad. You want to be informed because you want to know what's going on in the world. Just because that information, like knowledge, is power. Um, but again, you have to find the time to disconnect and just understand who you are again. And when you see something like again, the positive of things, I like to call myself the optimist because everything you can take it two ways. You take it negative or you take it positive. And I think that positive mindset is what like keeps you going. And that's the thing that like when Presley starts saying, I'm like, oh, this like again, when you hear that cancer diagnosis, I I personally thought it was a death sentence. That's
Yeah.
what I thought. Like I'm not gonna lie to you. And hearing that one of my loved ones had cancer, it's like, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? Like,
Mhm.
you mean
Yeah.
that like in a couple months, like you're not gonna be here anymore?
Right.
That's but understanding, okay, this is what this is, and being able to change who you are, and even the person I was 6 months ago, I've changed in 6 months since I
Mhm.
heard that. It's like, okay, I'm grown. Starting to understand a little bit more, and I'm not afraid of that. And so people be like, oh, like you changed. Like change is good. Don't always think of change as a bad thing. No, you change for the better, and hopefully, like that's just something I take out of it. Like just having a positive attitude, being consistent. That's the one thing I've drew from this conversation. It's something I struggle with. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Being consistent, I go to the gym for 3 weeks, and then gym won't see me for another 6 months. But the little things in life is about even opening your Bible app every day and reading the verse of the day. Being consistent with that, going to street. But you don't have to start off saying I'm gonna do this for a month straight. Even with I remember I go through phases all the time where I tell my friends I'm not drinking no more, and it's okay. I like to challenge myself. So I'll go, let's say, a month without drinking. Okay, it's gonna be 60 days without drinking. 90 days. Okay, cool. All my friends be like, oh, like you're not done drinking. No, for now. Respect my boundaries, and they help me to that. So we'll go out somewhere, and I'm again, Brian be like, oh, let's go grab a drink. Cool. I come to the bar. I love the fellowship, but I'm not drinking this go round, and my friends understand that, and that's what holding people, friends that hold you accountable. And I love that. Like I just love my friends. I don't even know if Noel, you remember we met probably 15 years ago. No, probably not that long, but like 10 years ago. No longer than that. So maybe 15. In Trent backyard, Sunday ball. Like, and then I think it's crazy again, like the full circle moments that you have. We celebrating Drew finishing the fire department last week, and it's just like these are the people I have around me, and directly, indirectly, like these are the people that are feeding into me. So the conversation that we have, even in passing, you're growing from those, and you're again, I think you could take a little bit from a lot of different people, whether this person is, you know, you don't agree with their lifestyle. It's something that you could take away from every conversation that you have and everything that you do, and I think that's the key part about things, the discernment that you have.
This is church. This is church right now. I think Noel said, God knows what you need. And immediately I just thought about it. God knows what you need, and God knows what your community needs. And because He knows what your community needs, that's why we're here.
Yeah.
Our community needs each of us. Our community needs each of us to continue to do what we do, and that's the purpose for why we're here.
Yeah.
Sometimes and that's just when I was hearing them talk about that and hearing JT and playing back this entire conversation, this is evangelism at it, like, live in the flesh right now, because God knows what each of our communities need. We have 6 different platforms on this call right now, impacting individuals in different ways. God knew that our communities, these individuals that were impacted, they knew that they needed us. They needed us to be that one person to take that step. They needed us to be that person to be consistent. They needed us to go and bring, be the ideator and bring people together to help them. God knew God knew these people, these communities, they needed us. And I think that's a big challenge for, the entire community, all Black men. God created you and put you on this earth for a specific community. Find out what that community is, find out who that is, take a step forward, and get to work. Like, we're not here to run up a bag for ourselves and get a Rolls Royce and chill with our feet up. Like, that's not what we're here for. We're here to help somebody else's life get better. We're here to help somebody else's dreams come true. Let God work. Stop blocking them. Let God in. And let's continue, brothers and sister. Let's continue to do some amazing things in this world, because we're already changing the world, and that's starting by us changing our narrative. I love this. I really did love this, and I was excited for this conversation because I knew I was going to feel like this, and I'm so happy for this. I can't wait to play this one back.
I had no idea I would feel like this. So with what Vernon said, I echo everything that he said. But gentlemen, that is our time. Before we go, tell our listeners how they can connect with you. We'll start with Jared.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I'm on Instagram at Father Jared, FATHERJARRETT. That's my name. That's my personal page. So I don't have no business or nothing yet. But also, I would suggest that you guys all go on YouTube and go to Kappa League TV and subscribe to it, watch it. It has Kappa League chapters from all over the country that are showing the amazing work that they're doing. So if you are listening and have a Black male or just a male in general that you want to get into the program, there's a chapter. I'm 99% sure there's a chapter near you that you can get your young men involved in, and it's just such an amazing program. I'm a product of it, and I'll go hard for it every day of the week. So thank you all again. Thank you for having me.
No problem, Vernon.
Yeah, so Vernon G, you can find me. My personal page on Instagram is v.g.yancey. Of course, you can follow Sauce, SOSSD.co, on Instagram, and that's our website as well, where you can stay in touch on, everything that we're doing in regards to moving across the community. And anyone listening right now, our No Shave November initiative concludes on the 30th at the end of this month. Like I said previously, a percentage of every purchase transacted throughout this month of November is being donated to Presley's organization, Positive Deposits, so he and his team can continue to do the wonderful things that we all heard him speak to today, so we can get more survivors to be able to continue to sow positivity in the lives of others, in the lives of their communities. We have a lot more service. This just got me hyped. I'm about to hit the drawing board and figure out how else we can be a blessing to others. So follow Sauce and stay tapped in on what we're doing next. This is just the beginning.
Just the beginning. Presley.
All right. You can follow my personal page, Just Prez, JUSTPREZ. That it's open, so it's not private. But most importantly, the initiative and why we're here today, Positive Deposits. You see it, Positive Deposits INC_ is where if anyone wants to reach out to us to help any survivors, any caregivers, they are very important. We can't forget about them. But we are here for that community, the Black and Brown community, but we serve all. And so those are the two ways that you can tap in. Like Vernon said, we got about a couple more days for No Shave November, and definitely we want to make sure we make it big. It's a great initiative, and we actually are educating why people should grow out their hair and things of that nature. Because a lot of people do it for the fad, but it's for cancer survivors that can't grow their hair. So knowledge is key,
Right.
So thank you for having me.
No problem. Noel.
Awesome. Real quick, God created Adam to tend to the garden, right? And I think all as men, especially as Black men, we all have a garden that we need to tend to, whether it be our families, whether it be our communities, or our purpose. So we need to make sure that we tend and holding up our responsibilities. But just G_23 is my personal page. At It's Bigger Than Us _ is the organization's page. We got a lot of things coming up in December. Teaming up with the YMCA like we did last year to give away 10,000 toys, Crenshaw YMCA, and a lot of other initiatives going on in December. You can find me at Crenshaw High School. If you got some boys, send them my way. Coach football, coach girls track. In addition to that, I mean, if you're looking for the good word, my dad again is a pastor. You can find us at 4260 3rd Avenue, Victory Christian Center Church of God in Christ. Appreciate you for having me, and appreciate the knowledge and the uplift that these brothers have put into my spirit.
Yeah, Dr. Anderson.
Yes, of course. Thank you guys for having me again. This has been a blessing. This is the fire that I needed. So once we get off this call, I'm gonna get to work for sure. My wheels are definitely turning. You can follow me on Instagram at _unapologetic1. And my page represents the name Indeed. I'm very unapologetic. You can ask Vern if it comes up here. I'm gonna for sure say it. So if you don't want the unapologetic truth, don't come on there, because that's what you're gonna get, the unapologetic truth. Also, if you click on the link, you can access my website, which I'm currently working on. I'm currently doing the work of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So anything centered around that, anything centered around Black people, anything centered around service, just hit me up and I will freely serve and freely give, because I love my people and I love my community. And I appreciate you guys having me.
No problem, guys. Thank you for allowing me to showcase your stories. You've been a blessing, a total blessing today. And thank you for doing your part in changing the narrative. And lastly, for keeping your commitment by being a part of the show. If you've enjoyed the show, please let us know. We would love to shout you out and post your comments. If you or someone you know is changing the narrative, please contact us at iChangeTheNarrative@gmail.com. We would love to share your story. For I Change the Narrative merchandise, visit iChangeTheNarrative.org. Thank you to our sponsors, So Organic, So Suave. You can follow Sauce on Instagram for the latest in product news and updates at sossd.co. Meet us here next Saturday, December the 4th at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you all for listening.